responding to emails. Yeah, infidel media is about making fun. It's like a mockery of those type of accounts, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, I mean, some of the video footage is funny, but you know, I get it. It makes sense. Oh, hang on, I've just got to respond to this email.
What I'm trying to do is do a bait and switch. So I'm gonna like pump some regular videos that will get these type of people to come, follow all of these people that are anti-Muslim, and then hit them hard after. So you're gonna play their game. Because if you go in the echo chamber, it's not gonna work. You want to destroy them by taking their audience and then funneling them in another direction.
Yeah, that's true.
This is why Al Jazeera is so useless. You know, these Arabs are so stupid at propaganda. Like, if I'm trying to influence white people, am I going to call my TV channel Al Jazeera? How stupid are you? Like, literally.
It's just that I was even talking about the Chinese yesterday. Like, they can't even do, like, they can't promote themselves very well. Like, there's so much scare stories about them, and they just don't promote themselves very well. And the fact that still to this day, there's this so-called fake genocide rumor still going around is just, it's crazy. You know, at least you can say with Russia today, they've got, you know, in different languages.
Well, so much for that. That space crashed, but I can find you the link to that stream on Twitter Spaces that I have actually timestamped. So all is not lost. In the meantime, I guess I'll change the title of this stream to something else. But I thought it would be nice just to have my record of that space. I think you'll find it quite entertaining. So let me just do this before I do the next thing, which is address your issues and your queries about, well, whatever they are. So thank you, Nathaniel Franco, for coming so quickly. You're new here, aren't you? I haven't seen you before. Yes, these days I do pop onto Twitter Spaces more than before. But anyway, it was just going to be a restream, and you will be able to find the actual space that where the exchange took place. I thought it was quite an entertaining one, and it descended into chaos and insults and abuse later. But I thought the part that I was in was quite useful. So I hope you'll have a look and follow Dr. Daria Khan, with whom I have had a second space discussing the Anglo-Saxon Caliphate. So this is an idea that we will be going for, and our next streams will be on this subject. So there is all this to look forward to. You will find it hopefully of interest and perhaps even inspiring. Oh, Nathaniel Franco has my book. Have you read it though? I mean, I know there's a, it probably doesn't serve me well to assume that everybody who knows me will buy the book, or if they buy the book, they will actually get round to reading it. And if they do start to read it, whether they will finish it. But I hope you will. It's not a long book, and some of my major detractors would complain that it's not, it's a rubbish book, but not long enough. So I don't know if my book is on your shelf or for decorative reasons, or if you have actually read it and have your notes in its margins, and that you will be quoting it to various interested parties. But I must say it was very gratifying when recently a Catholic American did quote bits of my book to on a space, and this was all time-stamped. Now I have to find out where it was. Maybe I won't be able to find it easily, but I think you already know, are reasonably familiar with my modus operandi. I basically timestamp my streams and spaces on my blogs, The Radicalized Rabbi and The Voice of Reason, so you should be able to find most of them. Nathaniel says, I think it repeats a lot of your content otherwise shared online. Yes, there are a few new ideas, but yes, I think one of the things that might prevent people from finishing it is because they think they've already heard it so many times already. But I promise you there were new ideas. I wasn't just going to repeat myself. And also, even as we speak and as the days pass, I do have new ideas, and am moving over to Substack. So basically from now on, I will be timestamping my streams still on Radicalized Rabbi and Voice of Reason, but for the new ideas, I will post them on my Substack, which I hope you will subscribe to. So my latest thing is talking to Dr. Daria Khan. You should be able to find her. I do interact with her and have been in Twitter Spaces with her, and will be in another one on Thursday, noon GMT, and we will be streaming on the theme of the Anglo-Saxon Caliphate. So basically she is saying, Anglo-Saxon imperialists, don't worry. If you use Islam, which is an imperial religion, you might just be able to hold on to your empire if you display the proper degree of submission to correction and intellectual flexibility, as well as an adherence to the principles of truth, logic, and morality. She is trying to be helpful. She does live in the UK, and obviously a lot of non-whites living in the West have an investment in the country. We don't really want to move again, and we don't want... basically we don't want to end up as refugees on the doorsteps of our parents and family. We don't want to think, we don't want to have to say, look, we had to come back because the West is now a failed state. And what we're trying to do should be of interest to even white nationalists who understandably object to being swamped by immigrants. What I think white nationalists and immigrants might agree on is the sanctity of marriage, because you really need to practice marriage in order to perpetuate your group. Otherwise, well, I mean, can you imagine being in a group that doesn't practice marriage and is one sex? Well, you just die out, really. So I've been talking to Vincent Bruno, as you well know, and he has this idea of beyondism and bypassing the rules of patriarchy and marriage because he's gay, and thinks he has a better idea of producing the next generation than heterosexuals. So I have been humoring him all this time, and today I have posted 7 reasons why his project is doomed to failure. And I will even post well, actually, he has so many blogs that I'm not even sure which one it is. I mean, I try to post comments when he has taken the trouble to post his, to make his posts on his blog, but I don't know anymore. They're a bit confusing. But here's one that I've dealt with, I think, reasonably comprehensively. My 7 points against his idea of beyondism and bypassing the rules of marriage and good parenting in producing the next generation. So I'm afraid I haven't gotten any further in persuading Vincent to take political activism seriously and actually campaign for something that would help his fellow Americans, for better government, for restoring the patriarchy and adopting secular Quranism that will protect gay rights, even though it would expect gay men to be more discreet in order not to be convicted of public indecency offences. So Vincent understands that I'm not going to be ignoring certain verses in the Quran to do with LGBT behaviour, and I have said that gay marriage would be abolished, but there's nothing to stop gay people from having sex and shacking up with each other as long as they do not frighten the horses and do not do it in public and incur for themselves a public indecency offence. Unfortunately, Vincent has not seen fit to give up his idea. I've encouraged him to, well, I mean, it's 2024, it's election year in America, and I would have thought as an American he would take more of an interest in actual politics in America, but perhaps it's just a forlorn hope on my part that the Americans I know will join the Republican Party and take an active role in it in order to, try one more time for their democracy and for Trump, who has given up so much for his fellow Americans. And even if you think he did it for selfish reasons because he couldn't stand it anymore, Americans should at least show some respect and appreciation for all that he has done. He could easily be enjoying a peaceful retirement, but he chose not to. And I think the sacrifice he has made is noble and selfless, really. I can understand that there are people who are not necessarily low status and low income, and that there's something in them that just objects to the craziness and the evil and the nonsense that our government is imposing on us. So while Trump isn't perfect, he is the best the West have got. And certainly the Americans are more fortunate than the Europeans who don't even have their own European equivalent of Trump. They're all controlled opposition. I know some people have been saying that Trump is, in a way, controlled opposition, but because of his Islamophobia and his apparently slavish devotion to Israel. But I think Israel is special because the Abrahamic God is called the God of Israel, and his chosen people in Israel will always be the subject of scrutiny by Gentiles, some well-intentioned, others not so much. On the question of Trump being too pro-Israel, I would say this. God, if he exists, does go on about the children of Israel. So it befits us to also take an interest in his chosen people and to ask ourselves what their nature and purpose is. I believe that I know what it is. It is to make an example of them so that Gentiles can form their own conclusions about what pleases and displeases God. We can use them as, yes, an example. Of what God approves of and what he doesn't approve of. And the problem with this is people are just so stupid that they don't even notice that they have been cursed by God. Not until they hear me put it in these bold terms. So I am saying that Jews, Christians, and Muslims have been cursed by God. I think it's something that they might find a little difficult to accept, not because they think that they've done everything by the book, but so many of them find it hard to accept the literal existence of God. And so they find it actually quite hard to hypothesize God's view on this and that if he actually exists. So I've been saying again and again and again that idolatry would be offensive to God. And by the reaction of Christians, you have to conclude that they don't believe God exists, because if they did, they would be mortified that they have been guilty of these mortal sins and would want to correct themselves as soon as possible. But as it is, after all these years of me going on at them about their idolatry, they they carry on and use Christianity as a mere lifetime membership to being white and middle class, and for nothing else. So it is these hypocrites who find it very hard to even imagine a universe in which God might exist. And so they find it hard to feel any kind of emotion about their idolatry and blasphemy. I mean, to the extent that I make them feel disconcerted by repeated accusations of their idolatry and blasphemy, I think it's because it's not the fear of God that makes them feel anything. It's just annoyance at being told about their idolatry and not being able to find a good answer to convincingly defend themselves from these accusations. That's what really annoys them, because they're so far gone that they can't even imagine a universe in which God exists to punish them for their idolatry in this life or the next. But what about the Jews or Muslims? Are they any better? I don't think so. That is the awful truth. They don't actually think, Jews don't really think it's their duty to, fulfill the purpose for which God made them as chosen people. They think it's optional or something. And so they, rabbis, won't actually do what I keep asking them to do, which is to rank the 4 Gentile religions according to their conformity with the Noahide laws. And Muslims are no better in that they refuse to obey the command in chapter 18, verse 4, requiring Muslims to admonish those who claim that God has begotten a son. So they're all disobedient, so they're all cursed, and the curse will be, there's been, all kinds of suffering, Christians, have caused themselves a lot of suffering, the European wars of religion, World War One, World War Two, the Culture War, the French, the American, the Russian revolutions, all acquired by war. And yes, and there was the American Civil War. It's a war. White people are just very warlike, and I guess they can't help themselves. And they're really the pot calling the kettle black when they get, so excited and offended and disconcerted when they read a few verses in the Quran that actually mentions how Muslims might go about administering their empire or acquiring their empire. They just can't take it. And they get all what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I think Christians just pretend to be shocked and horrified that, the Quran even mentions principles of warfare and how it's to be done, while pretending that, Christians don't know anything about war because the Bible doesn't mention it, certainly not the New Testament. So, but white people are the ones with the global empire. So, they're the ones who can dish it out but can't take it when the boot is on the other foot. But we can tell, all of us in the West and outside, that white people are suffering because they have a matriarchy that is evil, stupid, and crazy. Basically, not knowing what they're doing, doing things that are clearly harmful to the interests of the Western nations who adopt the policies of Sodom and Gomorrah. But what I think secular Quranism will do for white people is actually offer them the chance of continuing with their empire if they tidy up their rooms and maybe even encouraging non-Western countries to adopt secular Quranism. So, hello, Trey Braswell. I guess it's time for me to put the link in the chat in case anybody wants to talk to me. I feel I'm kind of repeating myself. I'm not getting anything I can respond to. Perhaps some of you miss me from Jacob's Ladder. That's Jacob Falterecci's Discord server. I was ousted by this rabbi who couldn't answer any of my questions and didn't want to be on the same server as me. I have to say, these days, Jews are really not as clever as people want to think they are. Standards of cleverness and wisdom have plummeted disastrously in the West. People can't even, understand certain simple things that you're trying to tell them, like, oh, Americans, you need a religion. Everybody has a religion, and you people need one too. And your magic white skin isn't going to protect you from each other and your corrupt and incompetent ruling classes. So how about it? And, it's not the hardest thing to conclude that the obvious religion to choose from if you're American is Islam, because it can't be Christianity. Though I do notice that Christian nationalism keeps trending on Twitter because of all these dumb white nationalists who call themselves Christian nationalists, who want to pass a Christian amendment, which would implicitly mean the repeal of the First Amendment. And I don't think they even know this yet. Or if they half know, they don't want to talk about it. So it would be a retrograde step to put America back to the time before the American Revolution, and the presence of Prince Harry and Meghan in California makes the founding of an American kingdom more likely than before Prince Harry moved to California. It would be a very retrograde step. So, is anybody going to say anything? No, because most people are brain dead. I guess I will give the link to Vincent in case he fancies coming on. Oh yes, and I do have another big idea of putting people on registers. So basically, Jews will not be the only people on this register of mine. There will be quite a few registers: a register of Christians, a register of Muslims, a register of Hindus, a register of Buddhists, as well as a register of agnostics, atheists, and nihilists. And the purpose in keeping these registers is to compare the morality of these different groups. Hello, Vincent.
Hi, who were you talking to? I thought you were supposed. I was listening to this, but you weren't talking to anyone.
Your audio is not very good. Well, what I was trying to do was restream this space I had with Daria, and then the whole thing crashed. So I had to give up and turn this into a a monologue. So that was what I was doing. But it was meant to be a restream of my exchange with this gay Australian Catholic. And I thought it was quite funny because he started saying, but he started the usual, oh, I'm not religious but I'm spiritual kind of thing, and then he said I'm not spiritual, and then I had a go at him about the idolatry of Christianity, and then it started coming back. Oh, I'm Catholic, I've been confirmed, and I'm going to church. It was sort of like he was metaphorically wielding a big fat cross, and poking it at me to, because instinctively he thought, he was using religion for the purpose um, it was designed for. So he claimed to. So I mean, I'm saying I made him reclaim his Catholic identity. But he was very confused, he was saying yes and no a lot of the time. Saying on the one hand he didn't really believe.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes. Well, actually, he's
Can
still.
you hear me now or no?
Still,
is it better?
It's still a bit bitty. It's still a bit bitty. It's bitty.
Hold on, let me come out again.
Okay.
Let me come out and come back in.
Thank you for being so patient with us. For people watching. But it's good to see two of Jacob's Discord server here. 5 people now. Very good. Well, you know where to find me. Perhaps you know that I have a link tree for secular Quranism, so there's no excuse for saying, oh, we just lost touch with Claire. And hello.
Hi.
Much better.
Yeah. He was gay, this Catholic?
Yes. You can listen to it. I've timestamped it, but I just wanted, my special bit of it, and then it just sort of degenerated into, just Scottish swearing, and then towards the end, a lot of.
What's Scottish swearing? What is that?
Oh, it was just Scotsman who was just swearing at everybody. I mean, Daria just uses it as a form of entertainment. So she starts hosting the space, and she just listens to it at work, and often she can't really control it. And then I tried to remove people, but I couldn't for some reason. And then I gave up, and somebody else took over and co-hosted it, and then it became. Rather rude about Jews towards the end. But some of you might find it entertaining. It's the bits that I wasn't on was basically a shit show. But some people like that sort of thing. So what you been up to? Have you finished your treatment?
Yes, I did take my 4th treatment and it went well, and unlike you, I just realized that I have to do even more to kind of understand my enemy's position and fight it. I can't just call people idolaters and close the book. I have to do a little bit more than that. And
what do you have to do?
Well, you have to actually dissect their logic and even understand what they're talking about, even if it's complicated to understand, and look for ways to try to convince these people that these things are wrong, because very smart people are getting involved in nefarious things because they're smart. Like they say, intelligent people tend to get wrapped up in cults, because even if cults are wrong, they're it's like a higher grade of wrong. It's like they're stupid, and then there's like a more developed form of stupid. And some people are able to put things that are not right, but they're able to put it in a very complicated and intriguing way, and people fall for it. And, you know, I actually want to deal with the arguments rather than just making fun of people.
Well, the thing is, if people like, okay, Jen Sharp is a good example. She wants to complicate things and make people think she's so intellectual, and then she can't explain herself because, you know, part of a comic interaction between Jen and I would be I would just ask her questions and then she wouldn't be able to answer because it's impossible to explain nonsense, and she would get very angry. But you know, some people would find that comical.
Well,
So
I would have to actually, I don't know if everything that she said was total nonsense or if it was absolutely totally well, the thing is that some of these things have to be, some of these nonsenses are very deep nonsenses that are just, you know, you can't just, you know, it's obviously a lot of smart people fall for it, so it's obviously very well cloaked. And you know, you don't just want to just dismiss something that people are getting trapped into. That, you know, that's like, that reminds, you know, it's really dumb, like when people try to get people to stop being Jehovah's Witness, and they don't talk to them about logic, or they don't talk to them about scripture, and they don't try to disprove their doctrine. They're just like, oh, they're idiots, they're assholes, they don't believe in celebrating Christmas, who wants to be like that? Like, that's not the way you get someone out of the Jehovah's Witness cult. And that's what that's why most people like stay Jehovah's Witnesses, or if they stay Jehovah's Witnesses, because most people don't go to them and open up a Bible and try to prove them by the Bible that the Jehovah's Witness religion is wrong. That's not what most people do. Most people just make fun of you and make fun of your concepts and don't actually try to disprove you. Most people don't, like, they're not seriously going to sit there and be like, okay, what are the claims of the Jehovah's Witnesses and why are they wrong? No, most people are just going to call you an idiot and walk away. And that's just not the way you do it.
So what would be the way of doing it? I mean, I guess
Actually,
the other one, but look at all the fun you're missing, all the sex and drugs and rock and roll.
Well, no, but that's not the way that you break people out of a cult. You don't, like it. You have to actually show them that the cult teaching is wrong. They've been induced into a kind of logic system that's giving them comfort, and they feel like it's truthful to them. And they've been
Well, they
convinced.
just want to stay with their community
Yeah,
because,
but people
you
get
know, it's like I know this Christian who basically said, I can't explain the Trinity, but you're calling it idolatry has not changed my mind. I still want to be with my community. I don't want to
I
be
know,
with
but
those
I mean, some
Muslims.
people actually get convinced of these things. I mean, but okay, we're not talking about the Trinity. We're talking about philosophy of consciousness when it comes to what the Hindus are doing, which is a lot more complicated and difficult to dissect than the Trinity. Okay, it's not the same thing, and you can't relate everything back to the Trinity because not everything relates to the Trinity. And and I want to understand their arguments for what they are and dissect them. So instead of, like, you know, instead of just being like, why are you even paying attention to this? I want to go find different arguments within Hindu philosophy against each different school to show that, look, they don't even all agree. They're all fighting with each other. And here's all the logic systems. But I actually go and I try to find the logic system and post about the logic system.
I mean, as far as I know about Hinduism, I mean, they don't have a developed theory about God.
Yes, they
I
do.
mean,
They have a very developed theory about God. I mean, it's more developed than the theory of what God and how God relates to your consciousness is very well developed. That's why most of them consider themselves to be monotheists, because of that Advaita Vedanta. That, you know, it's very complicated, Claire. And to just reduce this down to be, oh, you're being silly. I mean, that, you know, if university professors are falling for this stuff, then something to be reckoned with, and it's not going to go away just by calling them idol worshippers. That's not going to scare people away from Advaita Vedanta.
Well, people who have a simple narrative and who are not afraid of repeating it will win the argument.
No, not if your a narrative is too simple and doesn't discuss. Look, Islam doesn't discuss theories about consciousness and what consciousness
It
is.
doesn't need to.
Well,
Why would people? It's such a retarded
Claire, just
subject.
because Claire, you're not interested in it, but you fail to see that millions of people around the globe are interested in it.
Yeah, we know what kind of people they are. They are atheists and nihilists who enjoy talking about nothing.
Hindus are not atheists or nihilists, and most people involved in Advaita Vedanta believe in a single God. So you're reducing this to simplicity that it can't be reduced to. You're reducing this down to like you're just trying to make this into the most absolute quick, simple decision that anyone can make, and you're just saying, well, so what if Islam doesn't talk about that area of philosophy? Just ignore it. People aren't going to ignore it. People want to know what consciousness is, and
how's that going to help them?
I don't know, maybe solve principles of the universe. I really don't know. I guess
but you don't know. You can't explain it. And what it boils down to is we hate Islam, so we're going to be Hindus. We hate Jews, so we're going to be idolaters. And that is all.
It's not that simple.
The distilled essence of these dumb-dumbs.
If they're not dumb, they're very smart. And the difference between me and you is that I say, okay, well, I can't understand everything you're saying to me, but I'm going to try. And then I'm going to try to find the logic against it. And you're just saying, I don't understand anything you're saying to me. You're an idol worshiper. You're dumb. Go away. Like, at least I'm trying. At least I'm trying to understand, because there is a logic system there. Otherwise, physicists wouldn't be following.
Yeah, there's always a narrative. I mean,
it's not a narrative; it's a logic system. It's not.
You can't even explain it. It's like
because it's not mine. But I'm trying.
Monotheists, and we're going to worship idols, and
it's not worshiping idols. That's why
multiple truth hypothesis, and we're happy with that sort of shit.
No, you're taking from Duvid and Jen, and you're applying that to Advaita Vedanta, and it's not the same thing. And Claire, you're not even interested, and you keep calling it. You're not interested in even trying to understand what they're saying. You're just saying, I can't understand it, so it's rubbish.
Well, I know the motivation. It's like these people are so Islamophobic. They're going to try all the wrong ways.
This has been around since before Islam.
They tried all the wrong ways.
Way before Islam, Claire. Islam is the last religion. Vedanta's been around way before Islam.
Yeah, but it's shit, isn't it? It really is.
Obviously, it's not shit since you can't even explain it. You don't even know what it is.
No, because it offers nothing but pajits and people who have.
It offers people a lot of
relationship with cow dung.
No, a lot of people. No, you're oversimplifying this. A lot of people find a lot of comfort from Advaita Vedanta, and
because they love mumbo jumbo. I get who.
No, but it gives you that comfort. There's something inside the philosophy that gives you a sense of comfort in its logic system, and then it gives these people a profound feeling of ease and. To just ignore that drug, it's like ignoring a crack epidemic. It's just you can't ignore a crack epidemic. Like, people like crack, okay? People like it, and
it's just a matter of getting the ruling classes to say this is
what
the better
ruling
system.
Classes? What nobody, what? Who are the ruling classes?
Politics? I don't know, but I guess somebody's in charge, or we should hope that somebody's in charge.
We have a president that's reelected every 8 years. It's going to be a different person from a different religion, from a different race, from a different town, from a different house all the time. There's all these elected officials get changed all the time. People in the media get changed all the time. You're acting like the ruling class. Who is the ruling class that stays in the ruling class their whole life and are like the ruling elite? Like, it's not really like that.
Obviously, I mean Congress, I mean the Supreme Court, I mean the executive and the judiciary and the, things.
Half of them are liberals.
Arms of the government.
Okay, well, half of them are liberals and are probably interested.
Yeah. So things are coming to a head because I think a few people are aware that this election in November is going to be the last one, and they might not even might get stolen again. Who knows? But in the meantime, you want to learn about Hinduism. I mean, sometimes you should be able to tell that something is rubbish just by looking at the people, right?
No, you can't. That's what Emo Monk tells me, that if people are ugly, you can tell their ideology is wrong. Like,
I'm not saying that these people are ugly, but it's clear why
no, it's
India
not
is a
clear.
twice
I'm totally
fallen
on your side, Claire.
civilization,
Everyone would just listen to
and
you
and why
clear. If it was
and
clear, everyone would just follow
why
you.
terrible things happen to European travelers when
Okay,
they
Claire,
go
you're
to
just not
India.
very
They get
robust.
gang raped,
Claire,
they get beheaded, they get murdered for
no,
fun,
Claire, you would
right?
never.
It's these kind of people, right?
Claire, you would never be able to write a book against other people's religions because you wouldn't even try to understand it for what it is and fight
Yeah, because it's shit.
Yeah, then you know what? Then you're the one
You can't
who.
explain it, so what's the
Yes, you
point? And you
can.
say,
Other
"Oh,
people
it's
can.
so wonderful," and the reason why
Other
all
people
these
can explain it,
academics
Claire.
are trying to well, these academics want to publish papers, and they're
Well,
going
there's
to do
something
stupid
going
things
on
like
there. Claire, you're
yes, of
very
course, people.
dismissive
There's
of
a
people
lot of
who are more educated.
nonsense boiling
You're very
and
anti-intellectual.
simmering away.
You're very
Yeah, because
anti-intellectual.
I'm interested in practical politics, and what you're doing is displacement therapy. You don't want
No,
to deal with the real world, so you're
yes,
going
I
to go,
do. This
oh,
is
look,
real
the
world
Jews and
politics that are
Muslims.
going on.
No,
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 Claire,
you don't want to deal with the Muslims. You just want to deal with some esoteric little dark corner of the internet
Hindus are not in
stuff.
a dark corner of the internet. They're the world's third
Yeah,
largest
yeah, and we
and
know why
growing
these. Okay,
and
so
growing.
these rabbis, they want these Hindus to come to Israel because they don't want these Arab laborers anymore. So
Well, these
I
are real
guess
world.
what they're doing is they're going to say that these Indians are no hides because they can't be dealing with the Arabs because they've killed them, exterminated
Yeah,
and
that's real world
genocided them.
politics.
So they
That's
want
something.
a new lot of immigrant cheap labor, and it's going to be the Indians that they're going to declare to be no hides,
Okay, well,
even though they're idol worshippers.
That's a significant political movement. That's not nothing. That's not.
Yeah, yeah. So I've explained it to you in a few short sentences, but you
No,
still
but
want to.
Claire, oh my God, you reduce everything. Now you're just saying it's all about labor. It's way more than labor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A few other things. I mean, like academics, they want to publish a paper. They want to be seen to be original and relevant, so they're going to mix with the shit of Hinduism with panpsychism and such like shit.
These are, you just can't. You're putting off. Your anti-intellectualism in this is you're just dismissing half of the world's.
Yeah, I want to dismiss nonsense. I want to be able to use my
You
powers of
can't even
deductive
explain.
reasoning
So
to
if you can't explain
focus
it, then you
on
can't say
the
it's not.
real things that actually matter to people who care, not people who just want to run away and live in their ivory tower and have their little laughs about, well, things that nobody else is interested in.
Yeah, stop. Obviously, if millions of people are getting involved in Vedanta because they like it, it's not. It's
Yeah,
not.
it seems so they can sell. Lots of people like going to yoga classes and leering at women in their yoga pants. That's it.
No, it's more than that, Claire. It's not. You just reduce everything down to this lowest common. Claire, your lowest common denominator. Secular Quranism is lowest common denominator. Just unsophisticated and I'm telling you, what you're serving up is not even McDonald's. It's worse than McDonald's. It's not even capable of being mass produced.
Of course it is. It doesn't need to be mass produced. The Quran is already in existence in so many copies all over the world.
Okay,
It's
well,
a very
usually
simple
Muslim.
idea. It's like saying, well, follow that book. Can you think of a better one? No. Well, follow it then. If you think your moral system is non-existent or has crashed and burned. Yes, it's very simple. It's too simple for you. You want me to wrap it up in, I
No,
don't know,
I'm not the one that
Latin
I'm
or
not the one.
whatever.
Excuse me, I'm not the one who's promoting Vedanta. You don't need to. You don't need to convince me of any fucking thing. But at least I do try to convince. I'm not going to just say, "Oh, you're rubbish." I'm going to say, "Okay, what is this? What is your system? What do you believe? What's the logic in it?" Okay, let's look at that.
Yeah,
Let's
well, you told us about your interaction with all these Hindus, and now you're walking back on that, and they might have something after all, and we should. You were the one who said, well, in 2016, you had these dealings, you went to India, and it was all wonderful, and now. And then you said, "Oh, we have to watch out for these Hindus." And now I don't know. You just keep going round and round in your revolving door.
No, I've always been, no, I misunderstood what Hinduism was. So it wasn't that I changed my beliefs. It was that I had beliefs that I thought were compatible with Hinduism, which they're really not. Hinduism is not polytheism, and most of them don't believe God takes shape. And, so
Oh my God, Vincent, it's so very simple. There are lots of Hindus, right? And they don't have a codified religion. They don't. And in a way, they're like Jews because you're going to find one Hindu that says one thing and another Hindu that says the opposite. It's the same way with Muslims and Jews and everybody.
most are not polytheists. Most Hindus are not polytheists.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's a structure, it's a construction of their religion. It's not codified. Do you know what it means?
Well, I know, but if the rabbis are telling them to codify it, and they're saying okay.
Yeah, but we know why the rabbis are doing it because they're going to say, okay, Hindus, you can come and work in Israel and build, do our work, because we can't give it to the Arabs because we've killed them.
Other countries,
but make sure you don't worship any idols while you're in Israel. Something like
well,
that.
they would. Well, who knows if they wouldn't be able to worship idols by the way this is all being defined. And that's the other thing, that you just dismiss the complexity of the question and you just call people idol worshippers that not even the rabbis are calling them idol worshippers anymore because it's complicated.
It's not. They only want to. They only make it seem complicated because they want to give Hindus a kosher certificate or a no-hide certificate. That's what they're trying to do. I've explained to you the political, economic, and background behind all the friendliness to Hindus because they want them as cheap labor.
It's not just cheap labor. They also want to use them in the West as their puppets in the West.
So they want Hindus who are very flexible. Oh, yes and no at the same time. This is what Duvet loves about Hinduism. Yes and no at the same time. Well, Judaism is so rigid. It says yes only and no only. So for certain people, they don't like it. They want to do whatever they like, and they're going to choose a religion that allows them to say black is white and white is black and men are women, etc. So we know the purpose behind it. We already know. So I don't see why you need to make such a big deal of trying to study it and make this. It's nothing to make sense. The political reason is obvious.
Claire, millions of people are falling for it, and that's
okay. And I've told you how to dismiss it using arguments.
You're just like, Claire, you're just like the person that came up to me when I was a Jehovah's Witness and be like, "Oh, you're dumb. You don't celebrate Christmas." Oh. Instead of you're not opening up a Bible. You're not learning what I learned. You're not trying to de-indoctrinate me. You're just making fun of me, and that's not going to work.
Well, maybe if you listen to my exchange with that gay Australian, it might work. I mean, he'll probably go to his priest and ask about idolatry. He didn't even know how to say the word, but I guess he might embark on a journey of discovery about idolatry and whether he
Yeah,
wants
well,
to be.
yeah, because he went and learned on his own, not because you were making fun of him. That's not like, Claire, if you think that you're going to convert people by making fun of them and not dealing with their arguments, then good luck.
I do a bit of both.
Yeah, well, you need to do what's people with more sophisticated ideology, you need to do a little bit more research and a little bit more understanding than just, rubbishing people. That's just not, it's as like, I told you, Jehovah's Witnesses actually, if they weren't such.
What made you leave? What made you leave? Come on. I mean,
What-
you
Well-
left because you thought, oh, I'm missing out on all the fun that the
No,
non-Jehovah's Witnesses were having.
Also, why would God make a prediction that didn't work? Why would God predict the end of the world twice and it's not true? And I'm supposed to believe he's the real true God, and you know him, and you've made 2 false predictions about him, or 3 or 4.
Obviously, the world is going to end one day.
Okay, well then don't set a date and look like an idiot.
He didn't set a date.
Well, the Jehovah's Witnesses.
It's only people who get depressed and want the world to
Okay,
end
you asked me
who
why I
make
left the
predictions
Jehovah's
about when
Witnesses.
it's going to end.
Asked me one of the reasons why I left the Jehovah's Witnesses. I said because they set a date, and that's just not good enough for you. Wrong date setting is not a reason to leave.
Yeah, it happened to the Seventh-day Adventists too.
Okay, so you don't think that's a good reason to leave a religion is wrong false date setting?
Well,
no. Okay, obviously you don't think that's the right reason to leave a religion.
No. Obviously, no. That is obviously the wrong reason to leave or enter a religion. I completely dismiss the narrative.
Because
you're kind of breaking up again. Are you moving around?
You think it's wrong to read a religion because they made 3 or 4 false date predictions for the end of the world? You don't think that's a good reason to leave?
Well, Islam hasn't done that, so you can't.
Why are you changing the subject? You asked me why I left the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay, I didn't know that the Jehovah's Witnesses made predictions.
Okay, well they did. So, but are you saying that that's not a good enough reason to leave a religion?
Well, it's the first time I've heard it from you that.
Well, look up 14 Jehovah's Witness predict, end of the world. Okay. You think there's no religion on earth that's ever predicted the end of the world, and so anyone who leaves a religion because it ends the prediction of the world, they're wrong.
Okay, when was it supposed to happen for Jehovah's Witnesses?
1914.
Oh. Well, I guess in a way, I mean, you could say, oh yeah, it began to end in 1914.
Well, that's what they it too. That's what, look, and they also made the prediction in 1975, and then they blamed everyone else when everyone lost their houses and whatever because of it. They blamed the congregation and they said, well, you just misunderstood what we were talking about. They led those people to believe the end of the world was coming in 1975 and didn't correct anyone in their belief that that's what was happening. And, then they just said, oh, well, you misunderstood what we said. But no, 1914, the world was supposed to end. It didn't end. And then they changed that and they said, no, it was the end of the Gentile age. And now Jesus Christ is in heaven. And that's what the Seventh-day Adventists did too. You think that someone who left the Seventh-day Adventist church because the end of the world didn't happen, didn't have a good enough reason to leave?
Well, I guess they try to rationalize it.
Okay. Obviously, you think that predicting the end of the world is a good idea.
Well, I think we have to logically assume that one of these days the world is going to end, and people want it to end if they get sufficiently anxious and depressed about their lives.
Okay, Claire, you stay in a doomsday cult that predicted the end of the world, and then it happened.
So do Jews and Christians and Muslims predict the end of the world.
Okay, well then go join one of those cults and make fun of people.
Look. My reasoning is I'm going to have to assume that the world is not going to end in my lifetime, and therefore I have to choose the moral system that is least restrictive, but from the supreme authority of the universe.
This boils down. You don't think that me leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses because of end date setting was a correct reason to leave? You don't believe that's a correct reason to leave a religion?
I don't know. I mean, everybody has a different.
Okay, fine. Well, I don't want to be in a religion that says, oh, the end is coming on this day exactly, and then it doesn't happen. And then I'm supposed to believe that you have the power of God in you? Not really. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, I suppose. If look, Jews, Christians, and Muslims have this end times prophecy. So it's only to be expected that some people will predict it, sooner rather than later.
Okay, well, they don't give an exact date, and the Bible says nobody knows the time or the hour. And anyone who claims that they know from, the word of God that when the world is going to come to an end is obviously a liar, unless they predict it correctly and the world really does end. Well, they tried that. They predicted in 1914, then in 1925, then in 1975. How many times are you going to predict the end of the world and it doesn't happen before someone's going to say, you know what, maybe your theology is off?
Yeah. So we'll
also,
just have
what about just making up random dates that no one else believes in, like the fact that Jerusalem was supposed to fall? Jehovah's Witnesses say Jerusalem fall in 607 BCE. Nobody on earth believes that number. They just pulled that out of their ass. They were not scholars. They don't go to college. They don't read Hebrew or anything like that. Made up random dates. So I'm not allowed to leave a religion because it doesn't meet historicity, because it has no historicity to it. It has no historical fact to it. And they're just making up dates and pulling things out of their ass that no one else agrees with. And I'm supposed to stay there and not be upset.
No, I'm not saying you should enter or leave a religion because of its predictions or its narrative. I'm saying you should just assume that the world is going to carry on and use a different set of rules if you don't think the ones you have now are better. And I'm saying the ones in Islam are better than the ones we have now. So, it's a very simple...
You're changing the subject. You asked me why I left and tried to make...
Okay, I didn't know that it was that was a reason. I thought it was, because they were being mean to you and whatever. So,
well, I don't, maybe, I didn't. Well, at the time, it was that, but also, I didn't necessarily agree that it was the only way, and I didn't believe that Hindus and Buddhists and Muslims and all these other people all had it all totally wrong and weren't going to make it into paradise. I wasn't so that convicted of everything that they were telling me that I could just say everyone else is totally dead wrong. I couldn't say that. I still can't say that.
Oh, I actually posted something about how people are going to be reincarnated, about bad Christians become Hindus and good Christians become Buddhists in their next life, and then eventually they'll get to becoming Muslim, and then they'll get to heaven. Well, I thought it was a neat little idea.
Islam doesn't really believe in reincarnation.
I know, but it's sort of like Islam would be the final stage, because there is an actual prediction and description of life.
Yeah, I know. Muslims don't live that great of lives, and they're being bombed. And so I don't see how being such a great person is gonna get you born in Palestine or get you bombed in some other Muslim country by U.S. forces. I don't see how that's such a reward for living such a good life for so many lifetimes. That doesn't seem...
Well, I mean, it could be seen as an expiation for sin. Like, oh, you were so bad, and punish you, and oh, it's you kind of cleared the account of sin, so to speak. Okay, I think I'll go now. Have you anything more to say?
No.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Now I have to what shall I call this? Talking to Vincent Bruno about the Unholy Alliance. between rabbis and Hindus. Okay, I think that kind of describes it. Thank you, everyone.